Hi, it's Robin from One Paper Street. Today I'm going to show you how to make a slimline birthday card using Distress Oxide inks and some leftover supplies that I have from a few other previous card making projects. So let's get started. I'm using 3 Distress Oxide inks to make the sky on this card. So I'll be using Peacock Feathers, Salty Ocean, and Tumbled Glass. I'm starting with Peacock Feathers because that will be the very top of my sky. And you'll see that I'm just taking a large blending brush and dabbing it onto my pad and then blending it into the paper. As I'm blending, you'll also notice that I'm moving my brush in circles. That helps the ink keep from building up too much in one spot on the paper. It blends out the color a little bit more evenly, and it allows me to blend the next color in a little easier as well. I found this brush on Amazon and it's been really great and pretty inexpensive, so I've linked to all the supplies that I used for this card in the description below. Alright, so you'll see that I keep trying to blend in the peacock feathers. I'm just layering ink on top of itself and just trying to get a really smooth color on the page. Once I'm done with the peacock feathers, I'm going to grab my Salty Ocean ink and use that as the midtone on this card. So it's just a little bit lighter than the peacock feathers used above. And I'm going to continue the process, but as I'm doing that, I'm going to start to also blend that Salty Ocean into the peacock feathers. As I'm applying the Salty Ocean, I am using a different blending brush. I want to keep the 2 color brushes separate because I'm going to go back through and use them again as I get an even better blend. So I'm using another large blending brush for the Salty Ocean. So I'm going to use Tumbled Glass for the last color on this card, and I flipped the card around so that I could work from the top down, and then I'm just going to fill any remaining white space with the Tumbled Glass color. Again, I'm using a 3rd blending brush for this, and then once I have the space filled, you'll notice that I start blending it into the Salty Ocean color. When I start blending, I'm actually working between the 2 colors that I'm blending together. So I bring the Tumbled Glass a little bit higher than what I need, and then I grab the brush that has the Salty Ocean on it, and I bring that down a little ways. So I get this nice blending of color from one side to the next. And I've done the same thing with the peacock feathers and the Salty Ocean as well. When I was done with the background, I trimmed a sheet of Neenah Solar White cardstock off screen and scored it to make the card base. Then I applied the background to the base using some mounting squares. Now I mentioned earlier that I would be using leftover scraps to finish off this card. Well, I tend to store all the pretty dies that I cut or things that I color in a basket in hopes of using them sometime in the future. Well, for this card it really panned out for me. The sun on the card was made from the inside negative of the Lawn Fawn stitched balloon frame set. I had made a balloon shaker card in the past and had this left over. The clouds were from the negatives that I had left over from a baby shower card that I had made with my Cricut machine. And the balloon you see was made with Swiss Dots Bazzill cardstock and the Lawn Fawn outside-in stitched balloon stackables. Then I had this bear left over from a 60th birthday card that I had made for a very good friend of mine using the Really High 5 stamp set, also from Lawn Fawn. I placed the balloon in the bear's hands using some Tombow Mono liquid glue. Then I held it down using a stamp block until it was dry. While it was drying, I finished placing my clouds around the card. I also used a happy birthday banner that I had made with my Cricut machine a while back. I had intended to use it for another card but had changed my mind at the last minute and just had it left over. Once all the dies were in position, I made sure that they were all stuck to the card pretty firmly. Then I flipped the card over and I trimmed off anything excess that hung over the edges. And voila! Here's a finished look at the card. I hope that you enjoyed this card making tutorial. If you'd like to find even more tutorials, you can find me at www.onepaperstreet.com. You can also subscribe to this YouTube channel or follow me on Instagram, Pinterest, or Facebook. Thanks for stopping by, and I'll see you next time.